watching The Buck Stops Here and I'm Barkha Dutt. On the program this evening, the big story, the Prime Minister's office has asked for a report after mounting controversies surrounding three BJP leaders, Devendra, Fadnavis, Kiren Rijiju and Nirmal Singh, Deputy CM of Jammu and Kashmir, all three accused of flexing VIP muscles to delay two different Air India flights. But first, before we get started, exclusive details of one of those incidents, the trauma at the Tarmac in Leh, where Kiren Rijiju and Nirmal Singh are charged with having delayed an Air India flight from Leh for over 1.5 hours and resulting in the offloading of 3 passengers with confirmed tickets. Through sources, we have been able to piece together what the pilot went through. The pilot actually stood up to this gross display of VIP muscle flexing. The pilot first intervened to ensure that the airline gave boarding passes to 3 passengers who were being denied these boarding passes. The pilot then basically went by the rule that the order for his departure was to be 10:35 a.m. Leh is a sensitive airport. It's managed by the Indian Air Force, and the Air Force had issued what's called a notice to airmen or notum. He was under orders to depart at 10:35 a.m. The scheduled departure was 10:20 a.m. Now, after this, he gets a message that 3 VIPs have to travel on this plane, including Kiren Rijiju and Nirmal Singh. According to our sources, as passengers start getting more and more agitated, the pilot proceeds to sign the last document that a pilot needs to sign before takeoff, the load and trim sheet. And as he's getting ready for takeoff, he's shut the doors by now, he gets a message from down below that the 3 VIPs have arrived. In the meantime, where are those 3 passengers who have been bumped off to allow these 3 VIPs to travel? You won't believe it. Those 3 confirmed travel passengers, an Air Force officer and his 2 members of his family, were put in a bus, brought till the tarmac, and they were sitting in the bus looking at this plane, watching all of this unfold as the netas basically bypassed them, muscled their way past them and walked up the steps of the plane. The pilot reluctantly opened the doors of the plane again and told the ministers, look at those passengers sitting in the bus, the plane has been delayed because of you. At which point our sources say Kiren Rijiju said, I didn't know that. But Nirmal Singh is reported to have got into an argument with the pilot and told him that that's your problem who gets offloaded, not mine. After which agitated passengers surrounded the ministers. They were angry, they were caught on camera, and eventually the pilot even had to take the help of security to take off. So shocking details emerging, painting to what happened to the pilot who actually stood up to VIP muscle flexing, and coming on the heels of Devendra Fadnavis' controversy in Mumbai, accused in a similar manner of having resulted in the delay of an Air India flight. It's brought the focus back to VIPs and their power trip. Before we get into our debate tonight, Kiren Rijiju, the Minister of State for Home at the centre of one of these controversies, spoke to me earlier, but at least he was willing to say sorry. Mr. Rijiju, you have said that you had no idea that a flight was delayed because of you and Nirmal Singh. But the Indian Air Force report accessed by NDTV clearly says otherwise. How do you react to these new developments? The Indian Air Force report that says that the air traffic control was asked to delay this flight for you and Mr. Nirmal Singh.
Yeah, that is why I was wondering that the initial departure time for the Air India I was told that 11:40, and the boarding was to start at 10:45, which is already, you can see in the printed version of the boarding pass. So that clearly shows that the flight was preponed by more than 1 hour. So,
But Mr. Rijiju, the Air India schedule for that day on their website clearly shows that the flight was listed for departure at 10:20 a.m. That was the revised schedule.
Yeah, that is what I'm saying. That why they issued the boarding to start at 10:45, which is printed. You must have seen the Deputy CM's printed version of his boarding pass.
Yes.
So if you see that, it will be very clear that the flight was preponed. So otherwise, there was no reason because Sindhu Darshan was to start around 9:30, 10, and if flight was to take off at 10:20, then there's no question of we would, take that flight. But only knowing that it was after 11, we have ample time. So we thought that we will travel with that aircraft. So, but Deputy CM told me that, the message came from the airport is that the flight was rescheduled and it will now depart at 10:20. Then that is the time Deputy CM has sent his message through the administration in the Leh.
Yes.
To convey that original departure is 11:40. That is, boarding will begin at 10:45.
Who told you this? Who told you that the boarding would begin at 10:45? Because I ask you again, Mr. Rijiju, the website of Air India clearly says the scheduled departure of the flight is 10:20 a.m. So who told you that the boarding was at 10:40?
I saw the boarding pass of the Deputy CM. It is printed. Boarding starts at 10:45. It is printed in the boarding pass. The boarding pass, according to you, the boarding time on the boarding pass is 10:45. We have the boarding pass's picture here, but maybe they gave you that boarding pass after you had already delayed that flight. Maybe, I don't know, because I was not, in touch. I was told by the district administration that the flight has been rescheduled and it is postponed. That is how we had to miss the Sindhu Darshan program also. We had to apologize to the people that we have to rush to the airport because flight has been rescheduled. So we rushed in.
But Mr. Rijiju...
So I think it is, even if the flight has to be rescheduled,
yes,
it should be well informed. And, normally the people complain in Ladakh, Leh Ladakh, that they normally keep changing the, timing of the flight. That is why Deputy CM has lodged a complaint that why the timing of the departure and arrival are always shifting. Especially, people traveling from far distant places.
Yes.
They plan their timing according to the original schedule of the time.
But Mr. Rijiju, okay, you're saying the flights in this area constantly change. One, it's a high altitude airport. Weather is not always certain. It's a difficult airport to land and take off from. You know that, I know that. The question is somewhat different. You're saying Deputy CM of J&K complained. That is the problem. Why are you complaining about the pilot being rude? The pilot, as I understand it, was being professional. The pilot was trying to tell passengers that the delay was not because of Air India.
The complaint is about the schedule of the timing.
No, sir. The letter here that I have with me also says that the pilot created a big drama and he was rude. This is the letter we have here. Mr. Nirmal Singh's complaint says the Air India pilot created a dramatic situation and was rudely behaved. Why have you and Nirmal Singh complained about the pilot? What is the pilot's fault in this? The pilot was trying to assure the passengers...
I want to clarify. I did not complain because I am not the original passenger of that aircraft. So I have no right to complain.
Yes.
The Deputy CM complained because he was told that the boarding starts at 10:45. So that is why, accordingly, he had rescheduled his program, and he was to attend the Sindhu Darshan and to board the aircraft after 10:45. I happened to be there only after my BSF helicopter was cancelled, and I asked Deputy CM that what is the departure time. He said, you can come around with thing. We'll ask the district administration to get the ticket. So district administration got the ticket, but by the time they got the ticket, we were informed that it has been preponed. So that is how we rushed to the airport, and that is how.
So you don't agree with Nirmal saying that the pilot was rudely behaved. You don't want to blame the pilot.
No. That is. I think there is a miscommunication between the pilot and the Deputy CM. When Deputy CM reached here, then pilot closed the door, and then he came down and said that because of you we are late and all. The Deputy CM said, because of me the flight is not late. Because of you preponed the flight. That is why we are in trouble. So that is the argument they had. And since I was not originally scheduled to take this aircraft, so I had nothing to complain about because I was just accompanying the CM, and only when I was informed that the flight is, taking off around 10:30 or 11:30, 11:40, then I thought I can board the aircraft. But I was informed that some people are being offloaded and all. This is bad. In aircraft, there should be, within the aircraft, there should be no VIP or no extraordinary treatment to anybody. It should be same. If there is a off-boarding of passenger and all, this is totally wrong. I mean, we cannot accept that.
Well, Mr. Rijiju, I'm so glad that you've said that maybe it's a miscommunication between the Deputy Chief Minister and the pilot, because let's assume for a moment that you and Nirmal Singh did not know that the flight time had changed. Let's assume there was confusion. The point is, if you were not Minister and he was not Minister Sahib, if you were not two Minister Sahib, then you were ordinary people and you did not know the flight was revised. There is no power in the world that could have made a pilot open a closed aircraft door for you, and that is where the VVIP culture sets in, sir. कि if you, अगर आप कोई और होते, तो ये दरवाजा आपके लिए कभी नहीं खुलता.
You are right. You are right. That is why they also should not report the flight. No, that is the problem. No, once they have made it 11:40 or 11:30, whatever, they should use that timing as their time to depart. When it is printed on the in the boarding pass that boarding will begin at 10:45, it must follow that. That is what my point is. That why you shift the time? Unless there is a really technical reason or some unavoidable circumstances. Normally, flight timing should not be changed.
But
it changes at the whims or fancies of some officer. It is not good. If it changes because of technical reason, then it is acceptable.
But sir, I ask you again, because I know you to be a pretty candid, down-to-earth politician. I ask you again, is it seemly for people like you and Nirmal Singh to blame a pilot who was only being a professional? When an airline is late, passengers shout at the pilot. When the plane is standing on the tarmac and the door is open for two netas to step in, what are the other passengers going to think? Sir, 3 other passengers were not allowed to get onto the plane because both of you took their seats.
Everybody must apologize to those passengers who are offloaded.
Yes.
Even I will also apologize. Everybody must apologize, because why would somebody be penalized because there is a change of flight timing?
Yes.
Flight timing changes, as I said, should be only in case of technical grounds or emergency security reasons.
Yes.
One cannot change the flight timing just like that at the whim.
So weather can be a reason. Weather can be a reason. There was repair work happening at the airport from initial reports coming in. Leh is not an easy airport, sir. There can be any number of reasons the flight is rescheduled. So
that is what Deputy CM wanted to know. What was the reason for preponing? So they should inform if it is technical reason. They should inform rather than rudely behaving for coming late and all. It should be it should be very, very rational. We must be rational in our approach. If the reasons are genuine, then we have to accept. If the reasons are not genuine, then it is not good.
Sir, you said everybody must apologize. Are you willing to apologize? Are you willing to apologize to the passengers who A, were held up on the plane waiting for you and Mr. Nirmal Singh to board, and B, those passengers who could not board, whose boarding passes were cancelled because you and Nirmal Singh took this flight? Are you, sir, willing to show political grace and say sorry?
Oh, definitely. Why not? If somebody has committed a mistake, we must be graceful in that. But the only thing is, the passengers understood that some of the passengers told me that some of them have got the information that flight has been rescheduled in the morning. Some people say, no, we did not get information, but luckily we reached the airport, so we got information. So there's a mixed reaction amongst the passengers. So this, change of, as I said, if the change of the flight timing is because of reasonable reason, then we have to accept the explanation. If it was just changed without any proper reason, then the Air India must correct, it's a system that they
there's a perception. There's a perception that even if Air India was at fault, let's assume for a moment it was the airline's fault. There is a perception, and this happened in Mumbai also when Devendra Fadnavis was to travel to America. His aide forgot his passport. Tabhi flight delay hua. There is a perception that Air India can't be professional because netas and VIPs control it.
Varka, you have to understand one thing clearly.
Yes.
If somebody has made the flight delayed because of late arrival and all, then there's no excuse. What I'm saying is the original flight timing has been scheduled. Please try to understand this Leh incident, that the flight has been preponed by nearly 1 hour. Please don't forget that part. The original timing of the departure is different from what has
So
been
who
scheduled
informed
on
you?
that particular
Who
time.
informed you about the original time? Because when we looked up the flight schedule, it showed 10:20 a.m. as the departure.
Yes, that is why it will show now, because they have rescheduled it. Whatever they have rescheduled, it will appear like that. But you see, you can ask the Deputy CM and other passengers, look at their admit card, their boarding pass. It shows clearly that boarding will start at 10:45. Accordingly, you make your arrangement and other programs related to the flight timing. This part, you should please don't miss this part. The original timing of the aircraft, which is very important while we understand the whole issue.
Yes.
Otherwise, there's no excuse if because of you, if the flight is delayed, it's no excuse. There should be
Sir,
no
let me put it to you differently. Let's agree for a moment that the airline was at fault. It did not inform the passengers of a new timing. Let's agree, even though there are question marks over it, let's assume for a moment that's what happened. If you and Nirmal Singh were not powerful people in the political system and you were just ordinary tourists in Leh and you had reached the airport late, there is no way that the pilot would have been convinced to open the door of an aircraft for you. So isn't this smacking of VIP muscle flexing, sir?
Exactly. That's why I support your point.
Yes.
That if it was not shown in the boarding pass to the Deputy CM that the boarding time was 10:45, why would Deputy CM ask to reopen the gate? Deputy CM's point is valid to the point that his original timing was not being kept by the aircraft. That is the only point. So that is why, otherwise normally one cannot dictate the timing of the aircraft. It should follow the scheduled time. We cannot accept any kind of, forcing or using muscle power or influence. This is totally unacceptable. I am a very humble person and I always go by the rules of law, proper behavior, and without causing any inconvenience to anybody. At somebody's cost, if I avail anything, this is unacceptable.
But Mr. Rijiju, when an aircraft's doors are closed, there is a DGCA kind of protocol to it. An aircraft drawer, when closed, as I understand it, cannot be opened unless there are very compelling circumstances that are security related or technical related. Closing, a closed door was open for you, even if the airline was at fault, even if the airline rescheduled its flight. And by the way, there are two versions of that because the schedule shows 10:20 a.m. But मान लिया, एक मिनट के लिए मान लिया कि airline की गलती थी, sir. But once a plane door is closed, could you not have waited, taken the next flight? If there wasn't a next flight, gone back the next day, because that's what an ordinary passenger would have had to do, Mr. Rijiju.
Yeah, that is, I agree that. I mean, like if it was not originally scheduled at the boarding time at 10:45, there's no reason to ask the pilot. I think you should, see the complaint letter of Deputy CM. I think he has explained it in his letter to the Civil Aviation Minister. I think if once you go through it, then the picture will be clear. My case is only when I got the information that my chopper is not coming. Then only I asked the administration that is it possible? They say, yeah, there's a time. Yes. Then they gave me ticket. So my case is, that's why I did not argue with anybody or the pilot and all. Because the CM had a valid original timing of 10:45 boarding time. That is why he had a point. So we must understand it.
Sir, you are Minister of State for Home, sir. Security comes under your domain, the security of this country. Leh is an Air Force controlled airport. It's a sensitive airport. It is not considered safe that once a plane's doors are closed, whosever fault it may have been, they are reopened for anybody unless there's a bomb threat or a technical threat or something very compelling. Sir, I ask you to reflect on that irony. You said you're a humble person. I know you to be a humble person. As a humble person, sir, are you willing to just say, I'm sorry this entire chaos has taken place, it was avoidable?
Oh, yes, definitely. It's a very bad and those inconvenience caused by all this whole operation because of us or because of the airports for the airline officials for anybody. We must say sorry to the passengers because it is our moral duty as well as obligation to ensure that the passengers are not put into unnecessary harassment. So it is very bad, and then we must ensure in future that because of this kind of misconduct, miscommunication or wrong handling of the timing and all, it should not create any kind of inconvenience to the common passengers. We must be very careful about that.
Sir, you say the airline was at fault. Your colleague Nirmal Singh says the pilot was at fault. Are you willing to say that you and Nirmal Singh may also have been at fault partially?
Yes, if the departure,
yes,
which was scheduled at I think 11:40,
yes,
and the boarding time to begin at 10:40 was unilaterally changed, then the PCM we are not at fault. But if it is changed because of a valid reason,
yes,
then I think we must explain, because whatever is the cause or reaction, there must be a valid reason. That is why some of the passengers told me that, yes, sir, you're right, because we also did not get information that the flight timing has been changed.
yes.
So these are, two versions. So whatever may be the reason, I think because of this, if innocent people or innocent passengers, who has...
Because there were three people... Sir, there were three people... Sir, there were three people...
program.
Sir,
it's a bad. It should happen.
Because, sir, you yourself said you were not even the original passenger on the plane, but there were three people who could not travel. One was the delay aspect. The second was, in a sense, they were taken off to accommodate you. So do you regret that?
Yeah, that is very bad. We must say sorry to those people who are offloaded, and those who are offloaded, it is totally wrong, and we must ensure that such conduct is not repeated. Why would a genuine passenger be offloaded? This is totally wrong, and I would like to say through you that the passengers, especially, I was told that I am so busy right now in Kalimpong and Darjeeling area because of this disaster of landslides and all. So many people died and all. I could not speak properly there, but I think those offloaded people deserves to be treated properly, and whoever is the reason, we all must say sorry, even if because of me, not in my knowledge, if district administration or the pilot or the officials have anything done wrong, on behalf of them also, I will say sorry, because this is unacceptable. It should not be done.
Sir, I'm very glad to hear you say that. And a last question, sir, since you're willing to say sorry to those who were offloaded or could not plane because you were on that flight,
Hello.
You say you didn't know. Sir, one last question. Why blame the pilot, sir? That's disturbing. Why are you both blaming the pilot?
Yeah, there I told the pilot that if it's not your fault, then it's a sorry. And now also nothing wrong in saying that. But the thing is that if the rescheduling is not with a valid reason, then I think the officials must explain to the passengers and the deputy CM. As I said, I don't have right to claim, because I got the ticket only after knowing that I have time to travel by this aircraft. If I had known that it was 10:20, that I would have stayed back and continued with the Sindhu Darshan.
So as NDTV accesses exclusive details that piece together the trauma at the tarmac in Leh, and first Devendra Fadnavis, now Kiren Rijiju and Nirmal Singh find themselves in the line of fire, how will the government react? How long can Air India, a national carrier, be treated as the private fiefdom of VIPs? And is it enough for the Civil Aviation Minister to say that these actions are indefensible, even as an aggressive and combative Chief Minister of Maharashtra, Devendra Fadnavis, goes on the record now threatening defamation against those who are saying he was responsible for holding up a flight in Mumbai? What's most important in this episode is the story of the pilot in Leh. The pilot who stood up to VIP muscle flexing and actually told the ministers that the passengers are angry because of you. The 3 passengers are sitting on the tarmac in a bus watching you get onto this plane. And how can you defend this? To which the ministers turn around and say, that's your problem, not mine. On the Buck Stops here today, we ask whether these are ministers or maharajas. Let's introduce our panel this evening. Joining us from the BJP, Sambit Patra. Joining us from the Congress, Tom Vadikan. Also with me, Kapil Kaul, one of the preeminent aviation analysts and experts in the country. Also joining us, Captain Panisar. He's been the former director of flight safety with Indian Airlines. And also joining me tonight from Mumbai is well-known writer and columnist Anil Dhalkar. Sambit, I'll start with you. Something is not adding up. You have Devendra Fadnavis saying on Twitter, enough is enough. Once I'm back, I will initiate proceedings of criminal defamation. You have Kiren Rijiju telling me, I'm sorry all this happened, we inconvenienced the passengers. But you have Nirmal Singh, also your party leader, Deputy Chief Minister of Jammu and Kashmir, actually telling the pilot, who gets offloaded is your problem, not mine. How is the BJP going to defend this?
No, and rightly pointing out, see, number one, I would say there should be no space for arrogance, whether we are in government or we are not in government. And especially when we are in the business of governance, there should be absolutely no space for arrogance. We have to defend what is true, and we don't have to defend anything that is not defensible. Number one, as far as Devendra Fadnavis is concerned, because it was a later incident, I mean, in fact, what we get to learn is that the Air India's communique that was released thereafter specifically spoke of the fact that the delay was because of a technical and operational reason, and not because of the fact that Mr. Devendra Fadnavis, the Chief Minister of Maharashtra, held back the plane.
Sambit, I have to interrupt you there. I'll tell you why. You're absolutely right. Air India officially said that the delay was due to technical reasons. You're right. But this page, this paper that I'm holding up is Air India's internal email. And internally, an Air India that's obviously too publicly scared to take on the ministers who rule its every little move. Air India's internal email clearly talks about Mr. Pardesi coming with a passport without the right visa, and very crucially goes on to say that when we told the Honorable Chief Minister that this had happened, he basically said that he would not travel without his delegation. This is what is very clearly there in the internal email, though Mr. Fadnavis is now contesting it.
Barkha, look, there are two things. First, since I'm the official spokesperson of the party, I would go by the official line that the Air India has released. Well, yes, as a journalist and as a media house, definitely you have every right to investigate as to what is turning up inside. And let the whole information come to the public domain by the Air India. Definitely we'll react to it as well.
This says we approached the Honorable CM to apprise him of the situation, to which the CM responded that he would not travel without his delegation. Now, Air India's problem was offloading the entire delegation of 8 passengers along with 14 pieces of baggage. They say would have caused them inexorable delay. Point taken. But the fact is, the internal communication says the Chief Minister refused to travel without his delegation. And Nirmal Singh telling a pilot, Sambit, that who gets offloaded is your problem, your airline's problem. And you have passengers, this Air Force officer and his family sitting on the tarmac in the bus. You know that bus that takes passengers to the plane?
Yes,
and they're watching all this, and the pilot is doing his job, and Nirmal Singh complains about the pilot. Why are you making the pilot the scapegoat?
I'll tell you, Barkha, no one is going to defend what is wrong, and least this government. See, as far as Devendra Fadnavis was concerned, I've given you an answer. As far as Mr. Rijiju is concerned,
and Mr. Nirmal Singh.
Yes, I will answer everything. Since in this channel you give time to talk to, so I'll answer everything. I'll not run away with anything. Look, as far as Kiren Rijiju is concerned, I mean, he was to lay for Sindhu Darshan. He was supposed to get a helicopter lift and come back to Delhi. But because of weather condition, the helicopter was not available. Alternate arrangements were made by the administration, and as the minister puts that he was not aware that because of his travelling through the air, I mean in the Air India flight, anyone was offloaded. If he would have known this, then he would not have travelled by the aircraft, and in fact he has also apologized.
Mr. Rijiju has apologized, but Mr. Nirmal Singh has blamed the pilot.
Yes, I agree with you. I agree with you, and I would rather say that if what you are saying is the truth, then the pilot has done his job.
Yes,
and
exactly.
Mr. Nirmal Singh may be the Deputy Chief Minister of Jammu and Kashmir, but we all are human beings. We have to respect our fellow citizens. No way we can say that, well, if someone was offloaded, that was because a VIP was travelling. No one has this business of saying.
Tom, isn't the BJP in a sense doing swift damage control in this one? The aviation minister saying these incidents are indefensible. Sambit Patra saying we're not going to defend this. But what's really disturbing is you have a national carrier that's actually never going to actually manage to be run professionally, because Netas treat it like it's private fiefdom. They're private fiefdom.
I appreciate Patra's position. He said that he is the official spokesman and he has to take the official line. But Dr. Patra, for a minute, let's keep our spokesman's hat away, and we are citizens of this country. We are not in a competitive mood or anything. Basically, there's something rotten in the civil aviation. I'm not giving a timeline, whether it's your government or government.
Yeah, because you also have reports of Renuka Chaudhary holding up a flight because she went shopping.
Let's look at it practically. People Yesterday on some television channel, I heard that because they were LTC beneficiaries, they were offloaded. Very strange excuses. Now, let me inform you that LTC beneficiaries are on full ticket. There's no discounting.
No. We know that the passengers had confirmed tickets. I can say that to you. The lay passengers had confirmed tickets. They were taken in the bus till the plane and not allowed to board the plane because the netas had to arrive.
Barka, I have gone through a situation. For me, this is nothing new. This is a standard operating practice. I was at the airport. I had an OK ticket. When some officials from the PMO arrived, I was told at the counter, hang on, because these are people, the PMO movement. Now, for God's sake, if PMO is moving, they're also buying a ticket.
How do you see the aggressive response of Devendra Fadnavis and Nirmal Singh, at least in writing, complaining about the pilot, compared to, I have to say, the relatively gracious demeanor of Kiren Rijiju? So, Sambit, this is not. I will separate Mr. Rijiju from the responses of the other two.
I think this young Chief Minister has to sober down.
Devendra Fadnavis.
Yes, I think he's talking off the cuff. He's dealing with public. Yep. And as the Chief Minister of the state, I will, through the good offices of Dr. Patra, tell him that he should have a cooling off period. I mean, this is no way to talk to
I want Sambit to get a quick response and then I want to open up the panel. Sambit, are you a bit embarrassed? Look at Devendra Fadnavis' tweets. Enough is enough. Once I'm back to India, I will initiate proceedings of criminal defamation. Look at Nirmal Singh's letter. Nirmal's letter is saying the pilot created drama and he was very rude. Did Nirmal Singh create the drama or did the pilot create the drama?
Barkha, being very truthful, no, we all know Mr. Fadnavis, even you would agree, and Mr. Tom Barakam, my good friend from Congress, would agree to the fact that he is a very hard-working young person who is trying to change the system in Maharashtra. As far as this particular incident is concerned, if the official communique of the Air India and what Mr. Fadnavis says match, then I believe I would not say I am trying to defend the indefensible. Rather, I am trying to defend someone who has been portrayed in a wrong kind of way and he should not.
But the internal email argues otherwise in the Fadnavis case.
See, I would not go into the WikiLeaks and I would not go into the internal email. I would go by the official communication.
Okay, the official communication is that Mr. Nirmal Singh,
as far as Mr. Nirmal
Singh wants the pilot to apologize to him.
No,
he wants the pilot to apologize. The pilot was made to open the doors that had been closed. This goes against every security and aviation protocol.
See,
how can the pilot apologize for being made to open doors that are closed?
See, to this, what knowledge we have, number one, I mean, without trying to defend the indefensible, the knowledge that I have is number one. Mr. Nirmal Singh was telling that he had authorized ticket, in fact, of the plane way before. I mean, it is not that he was given a ticket suddenly as Mr. Kiren Rijiju was given. He had this ticket and the departure time written in this ticket was 11:40 hours. And he came on time. The plane had thought of, in fact, taking off before time because all the passengers were already on board. This is what was communicated to us and this is what has been going on in the media since morning. If this is true, then Nirmal Singh stands defended. But if this is not true and he tried to, in fact, come in way of law when the pilot was speaking the truth, then I believe that is not the right thing we should be defending.
Okay. Hang on. Sambit, you have as most nights these days, you have a tough job on your hand. But let's bring in the aviation experts and then I'll take it to Anil Dharkar. Captain Panesar, you must have seen this very often. You must have seen how netas have actually, demolished Air India. I have to make a conflict of interest disclosure. I'm actually the daughter of an Air India official. So I have seen this happening from very close quarters. An airline that could have actually become something has actually been killed by politicians and politics. However, what we are discussing today is that the Deputy Chief Minister of Jammu and Kashmir wants the pilot to apologize. Actually, the pilot should never have opened those doors. Isn't that correct? Isn't there a security protocol for when a door can be opened, Captain Panesar?
Well, there are two things involved in this.
Yes.
One is the pilot's responsibility is to see the aircraft is properly loaded, and there are certain load restrictions for takeoff from Leh. And it is the fault of the commercial staff. They should have informed the pilot that we have some VIPs coming, and in turn he should have informed the passengers also. There's a VIP. We should give respect to our VIPs who are doing a lot of good work also. And the delay would have not cost much. The only problem was the load. If the load is restricting,
Captain
then
Panisar, I have to interrupt you to say I don't agree with you. Why should we give respect to our VIPs over passengers who paid for their tickets? Why should 3 people sit in the bus watching VIPs board the plane? The pilot was informed that there were going to be 3 VIPs. He said the weather is marginal. He had an order from the Indian Air Force that the runway had to be resurfaced in Leh. He had to take off before 10:35. He would have had to drop load had the flight got delayed anymore because of the winds and the weather getting marginal, as he said. How is it justified? How is it justified to make space for VIPs? Why does the word VIP even exist?
No, there is no justification for space for VIP. At Leh, there are certain times when the weather gets bad very fast.
Yes.
And they might have to cancel the flight. The pilot was justified in saying that I'll have to take up within time.
Yes.
It is the minister, he should have told them, okay, we'll go on the other flight. There's so many other flights operating. Or he could have come the next day.
But why are we putting the onus?
You can't blame the pilot.
Exactly. I'm glad you're saying we can't blame the pilot, because that's what the politicians, or at least Nirmal Singh, is trying to do. Couple call. We have the exact sequence of events now, what the pilot went through. And it's very, very clear that there was a notice to airmen, notum, that the last departure from Leh would have to be at 10:35. The Indian Air Force manages the Leh runway. The runway had to be resurfaced. Now, not to go through the details again, but we know that the passengers with confirmed tickets won't even be given their boarding pass. This pilot intervenes to get them their boarding pass. They're then put on the bus, they're taken till the plane, they're not allowed to board. The netas arrive. The netas insist that the flight was meant to be at some other time. Air India changed the schedule at the last moment. However, we checked the schedule, and from the beginning of that day, the flight was scheduled to take off at 10:20. Isn't this a VIP tantrum?
Barkha, to be honest with you, I think it's not defendable. Nobody can defend this action. But this has been happening in the past. This has got reported. There are many instances in the past which have been both in the public as well as the private sector, which have been worse off cases like that.
Yeah.
This got reported today. Smartphones are there, and people can
get the story.
Not defendable at all.
Yeah.
But if you were to ask me that, is this happening for the first time? I would say this happened before.
I agree. VIP culture is entrenched.
I might tell you, it happens in the private sector as well. But private sector manages it properly. It would, and unfortunately, Air India case, everything is in the public. I can tell you instances where in private sector, do you think if the Chief Minister or a Home Minister would approach a private airline promoter, in certain cases they might, but you will tend to agree. But they will manage it properly. Unfortunately, in Air India's case, everything is public.
But two things are disturbing here to me. To me, the fact that Air India doesn't have the guts. For example, in the Fadnavis case, they're actually seeming to camouflage the truth and say that there were technical problems, though the internal email suggests otherwise. But an Air India pilot does stand up. His organization may not, but he does stand up. And now he's going to be the subject of some investigation by the Ministry of Home Affairs.
Correct.
So that means this is the price you pay for standing up.
Oh, so my assessment is that the minister, I don't think this is going to go that far, frankly.
Yeah.
After it is in the public, I don't think there is going to be any harm to a pilot or he will be made to explain. I think this will settle down quickly. The point I'm trying to make to you, and that's the difference, is that this is happening before in the private sector as well as the public sector. This will happen, it's happening now. These are maybe 1 or 2 instances.
Yeah.
It will happen in the future because it's a cultural issue.
Yeah.
I don't see that going off.
And it's a culture.
And in private sector, let me tell you, this happens maybe more often.
Let's bring in Anil Dharkar.
Except maybe a few airlines.
Anil Dharkar sitting in Mumbai, you know, you're watching this. It seems almost a pattern. The Devendra Fadnavis story, Kiren Rijiju, Nirmal Singh. I must say, of the 3, Kiren Rijiju has displayed the most grace. I mean, one has to credit where credit is due. But Anil, for the ordinary citizen watching this, you know, the pilot standing up now being made the fall guy, the passengers and Air Force officers' families sitting in the bus, taken till the plane, not allowed to board. The netas actually being heckled and booed by passengers. Kapil says it's culture. I think the culture is shifting. I think people aren't ready to take this anymore from their netas.
Well, you know, I find to start with the comments made by your panelists very strange. Your aviation expert, for example, said that VIPs should be given some consideration because they do such important work.
Yeah, I was pretty shocked by that as well.
Now that is a very odd thing to say. are you saying that all the other passengers are not doing important work? Many of them are doing important work.
Yeah.
And so are you going to evaluate who's doing more important work, therefore you allow him to fly? And it's a ridiculous statement. Secondly, the gentleman in your studio was saying that this happens even in the private sector. The private sector airlines manage it better. But what does that show? That shows that the VIP culture is acceptable all across, right?
Yes.
The private sector manages it better by keeping it quiet. But the VIP culture prevails. Now, I think we should be talking about the VIP culture, and not just in the aviation sector. It is the culture right through the country. It goes on the roads. Why are motorcades allowed? All other traffic is stopped just because the minister is passing. Why do VIPs not have to go through a security check?
Yeah.
Why are we all terrorists that we have to go through a security check?
And Anil, what do you make of Fadnavis' sudden combativeness, saying I'm going to sue for criminal defamation? This is all a lie. The BJP quoting Air India's official communique when their internal email clearly belies the claims being made by the party in Maharashtra.
Well, what he is clutching at is the official Air India report. Which says it's because of a technical problem. Now, there was a technical problem. Of course, the technical problem was that the Chief Minister wanted his Principal Secretary to travel without a visa.
Yeah.
And since that was not permissible, they had to be offloaded. You mentioned it, there were 8 passengers, 14 pieces of luggage.
Yeah.
That would have taken so long that it was better to wait for the visa to arrive.
Yeah.
So this is a technical problem in official language.
Yeah.
Now Fadnavis is clutching at that, and
imagine had it been you or me who'd forgotten our right visa. Imagine if we had left the correct American visa back home, or imagine had it been us in Leh reaching the airport late. Let's say it's even the airline's fault. Would anyone have opened the doors of a closed plane to accommodate us? And Kapil and Captain Panesar, this is your absence of anger.
Barkha, just one thing I want to say, which is that what the politicians are doing, what Fadnavis is doing, is saying offense is the best way of defense.
Yes,
right?
yes.
They are taking the offensive deliberately.
I want somebody to respond to that, and then I do want to ask Captain Panesar and Kapil Kaul. Is it normal? Is it normal for a pilot to actually be asked to open the doors of a plane once they're shut? I'm being told the former Chief Minister of Maharashtra, Prithviraj Chavan, is also on the phone with us. Prithviraj Chavan, your comments. You have Kiren Rijiju, you have Nirmal Singh, and you have Devendra Fadnavis, of course, in your own home state of Maharashtra, now threatening criminal defamation proceedings, even though an internal email of Air India clearly shows the Chief Minister refused to travel without his delegation members.
Well, I am only gone by the paper reports and the media reports, and I saw the mail being flashed on the television screen. Internal report of India that the plane was delayed. Now, I had already made a demand that this is a serious matter. One should not play with the safety of the airlines. After all, Air India's or national carriers, the prestige of the country rides on it. And you can't just play lightly with it. It's not good. Now, what exactly happened must be investigated. And that's why I requested the inquiry at the highest level into all the incidents.
Yes.
The Kiren Rijiju incident and the Maharashtra Chief Minister delegation incident. I mean, of course, there is always a danger that the higher-ups can change the report and get reports doctored. But the facts as have come out was that there was some reason why flight was delayed. Now they should go into it.
Yes.
If there's a political reason, a political delegation, some officer in the delegation did not have travel documents, was allowed to board the aircraft, that is a statement. It's a breach of security precaution. But I think let's not go into whatever the newspaper reports are said. I request inquiry at the highest level into both incidents. I have seen the reports that inquiry has been ordered. Let's wait for the outcome of the inquiry.
And Prithviraj Chavan, a breach of security is a very important point you flag, but how do you see the aggression of the Chief Minister, who today is saying on Twitter, enough is enough?
Well, I also saw the tweet.
I mean, fact is that there are reports of what exactly happened. Now, we have to only go by the internal documentation of Air India staff. Yes. If any Air India staff, for whatever reason, delayed the flight, then he must explain why he delayed it, and action should be taken against him. If he was cowed down by the presence of high dignitaries, that's a serious matter. But I suspect that they will just doctor the documentation and say that it was some kind of ATC delay or some kind of immigration delay and hush the whole thing under the carpet. That's not right. It should not be done. The fair inquiry should be ordered. And I think the Chief Minister must be magnanimous enough if indirectly he may not have ordered a flight to be delayed. So indirectly, if he coerced into it or some official under a Chief Minister's delegation coerced the flight personnel to say that the entire delegation is deplane if he was not allowed to travel or some such thing happened, then I think Chief Minister must express regret, as Civil Aviation Minister has already expressed his regret.
Okay, thank you, Prithviraj Chauhan. Two important points being flagged there. One, breach of security, and two, that Air India may actually assist. Air India may actually assist in basically helping the Chief Minister to defend himself. Now, before I get Sambit and Tom back, very quick responses from Captain Panesar and Kapil. Kapil, Anil Dharkar saying he's a bit stupefied that the aviation experts on this panel almost seem to be saying, what's the big deal?
I'm surprised that he says that. If he's, I think in the system, this is a fact. And you are only restricted to a flight's couple of these issues.
Yeah.
There are VVIP aircraft movements.
So you're saying it happens all the time?
Hear me out. There are VVIP aircraft movements which have recently diverted flights. And this happens all the time.
Yeah.
There are issues with, for example, health checkups at airports. Multiple times the aircrafts are delayed. We are taking this issue, and obviously it's an issue which has got highlighted, but VVIP culture was in the past, perhaps was much more aggressive. It is going to be there now. It will continue to be in the future. The minister in 2014, and I must compliment him, he said that VVIP shouldn't delay Air India flights. He was the current minister. He said it.
But the current minister also said that he went on to the plane with a matchbox. And today the press conference he was displaying his personal ashtrays.
What I meant is that he did say that VVIP flights Air India should not delay flight, but it happens.
Tom,
so tomorrow, just one more.
Yeah.
If there's an inquiry, PMO has asked for a report.
Yes.
After some time, it will die down for some time. It will happen again. It's a culture issue. If Mr. Dharkar says that it's not.
No, we agree it's a culture issue, but we're questioning the culture. We're challenging the culture.
And I wanted to one point which got missed is that about the private sector. Is that do you think in India that any private sector owner, if there is a chief minister,
will afford to antagonize the government?
No, I can't believe that. Let's be practical.
That's the worrying thing. And Tom, contrasts the pilot who stands up to muscle flexing with Prithvi Chauhan's fears about Air India actually covering the tracks for Devendra Fadnavis. That's what he's saying may happen.
See, Barka, there are a couple of things which I need to add. As I understand, there are certain aircrafts available with the Home Minister, which is used by the Cabinet Minister and the MOS.
Yeah.
In fact, on one of the trips, I have escorted the Home Minister. There's a Dassault available, which can be used by these VIPs for emergency movements. Now, to create a situation where 3 people are on the tarmac, it's a very sad situation. The Exchequer has paid for that in advance. Aircrafts are available. These Dassault aircrafts are available exclusively.
So why don't they use that? And how do you read the BJP response thus far, before I take it to Sambit and Captain Panesar?
I think there is a systemic failure in the whole exercise. I'm not giving a timeline. Now, probably Dr. Patra would say that it happened in your time, the issue is, there needs to be an operational change in the operational style.
But but Captain Panesar, you as the head of, someone who's headed safety operations is saying, so what if rules are bent for VIPs?
No, I won't say the rules to be flouted, but I would like to say something important.
Yes.
It was the goodness of the commercial. They noticed that the gentleman doesn't have the proper documentation. It was the minister who should have said, okay, we don't want to delay the flight, either go the next day on the flight.
Yes.
You can't delay the flight because, the staff cannot release the person without a passport, without a proper visa and all that.
Yeah.
It would have created a further problem on landing in America.
No, that's true, but what about the passengers? You see, if I had forgotten my passport, Sambit Patra, What is this political arrogance that you write letters complaining about a pilot who questions you for being late? You question the media if you're the Chief Minister of Maharashtra and threaten to sue. You heard what Prithviraj Chavan said, that Air India may actually help Mr. Fadnavis camouflage his trail, because even you are quoting only the official communication, whereas you clearly know that the internal mail says otherwise.
No, I'll answer everything point by point, give some time, because almost everyone was speaking contrary to what my view was.
They can blame anybody, politician can blame anybody, but we have to go by the facts.
And we know the facts.
No security violations.
Now, how do I answer? Everyone else is talking.
Okay, Samit, go ahead.
Yes, number one, to what my friend Mr. Tom Vadakam said, that there are special flights with the Home Minister, and they could have been used instead of the public flight. In fact, I would say no. Austerity is very important. We have to be austere, not to use special flights every now and then.
Then why be politically arrogant? Why be politically?
No one can I was not interrupting anyone, Barkha. I mean, this is not the way you don't want to take answers. Number two, yes, I have told in the very beginning there should be no place for political arrogance.
Yes.
Number one, if Mr. Fadnavis is very strong on this and he has come out with a tweet, though I have not seen the tweet, but you all say that he has said enough is enough and he is going to bring about a criminal defamation. If that is the confidence in him, that only shows that he has certain facts probably which we are not aware of, in the sense that he has not committed what we are ascribing it to him,
but
or else he would not have had this confidence.
You're saying Air India officials are lying.
No, official line of the Air India would definitely be taken by us, because I'm not going to snoop into what the Air India does. I'm not going to hack the emails of their workers.
You don't have to hack emails. You can just be a journalist and have sources who give you information.
Yes,
just like
you can have sources. You can have sources. You can hack and all that. But I'm going to follow the official line.
Just like in Leh, the Deputy Chief Minister tells a pilot, if a passenger gets offloaded, it's your problem, not mine.
Yes, to this I would say this should not have been said. If what you say is right, if there were 3 passengers who were offloaded the plane because of the 2 others to be adjusted, here I would contest that Mr. Nirmal Singh, as I know, had a regular ticket. He was not the one who was made a last moment person to come into the plane.
Yes, it was Mr. Rijiju, but Mr. Nirmal Singh is the one who got into the argument with the pilot.
See, over here, any minister, even if he is right, he should not enter into an argument, and that too on issues as complicated and as technical and as sensitive as this.
Yes.
To this I would agree. None of us, those who are in political domain, should always be humble, should always step back. Even if they are right, they should step back, they should listen, and then they should judge. There should be time to judge.
Let me get Anil Dharkar. Let me get Anil Dharkar in. Anil Dharkar, Sambit is saying that politicians must be humble. But look at Nirmal Singh's complaint to the Aviation Ministry. The pilot's order to close the door was wrong. This is the Leh incident. Instead of apologizing, the pilot behaved rudely. I mean, how can a minister determine when a pilot should actually shut his doors? I have information here that the pilot ordered the shutting of the doors after the last document that a pilot signs before takeoff, which is called the load and trim sheet. The load and trim sheet had been signed, and then the doors were closed, and then a Neta is able to order a pilot to open the doors. The pilot stands up to him and he gets complained about.
Barkha, why are you surprised?
No, I'm angry.
This is the question. Okay, I think we all have a right to be angry, and I think we should do what they did in Pakistan when 2 ministers came in. They came late and delayed the flight. The Pakistani passengers, and they were ordinary people, got so angry and they started shouting and booing these people and made it so humiliating that these 2 guys had to put their tail between their legs and leave.
True.
I think our passengers have to assert themselves, and we have to say that we are as important as you are.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
in this case, it did happen, Anil. We know that the passengers were so angry, the pilot actually had to call in security to be able to operate his flight, because the passengers were hopping mad at these netas.
Very good. And
Barkha, one line
what has happened? Dr. Patra, 1 second. He was saying that politicians should be humble. Now, I would like to come across one humble politician in this country. In all my years, I haven't come across a single one.
This is wrong.
And especially when a politician becomes a minister, he becomes a Maharaja.
Yes.
Which is why they use Air India as a Maharaja airline.
If only it were allowed to be a Maharaja for passengers and not for ministers. Sambit, 10 seconds, I've got to close then. 10 seconds.
Number one, let's not
just
a second, Mr. Anil. Mr. Anil, I've heard you out. Please allow me to complete.
Let me just finish.
This is absolutely
I just want to finish.
Barkha,
I want to finish. One second. One line. In India,
he's spoken enough
we have so many VIPs. We have so many VIPs that we had to invent a VVIP category. We are the only country in the world with that.
Yes, absolutely. Okay, Sambit, I've got to close. Everybody, we're out of time. Sambit, 10 seconds.
Barkha, number one, we should not paint every politician with a common brush saying that all of them are non-humble or arrogant. This is absolutely wrong. This country has produced very humble politicians.
Like who?
Number two,
like who?
From Mahatma Gandhi till Narendra Modi, most of the prime ministers of this country have been humble prime ministers, even if they belong to the other parties.
Now that's a whole different debate. That's a whole different debate.
Secondly and importantly, I differ from Mr. Anil Dharkar at one point when he said that the passengers should become like the Pakistani passengers and should boo away the netas. No, don't take law to your own hands. Media is a strong platform. Please bring your grievances to the media. There are other platforms of complaining. Please, for God's sake, inside the plane, don't take law into your own hands.
They didn't take the law into their own hands. They expressed their anger. They expressed their anger.
I mean, there is this tribe of politicians who get arrogant and they behave the way they do. Your party has them, our party has them. Let's change. Let's tell the people that we need change.
And let me say, people will not accept it. In this incident itself, people surrounded Kiren Rijiju and Nirmal Singh and said this is absolutely unacceptable. We'll have to leave it there. This may be one in a series of similar incidents, but every time you call it out, a neta will think twice. The neta will think twice or maybe thrice before he or she flexes VIP muscle again. Leaving it there. Sambit Patra, Tom Vadikar, Anil Dharkar, Kapil Kaul and Captain Panisar, thank you for joining us on the Buck Stops here.